Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Education Coordinator at the Financial and Consumer Services Commission. Part of my job is to talk to people all over the province and share information to help them make smart spending and savings choices. Today, I want to share some important information about credit cards. Although you have all probably heard of a credit card before, let's review what they are and how they work. Essentially, a credit card is a way to access money the credit card company is willing to loan you. The credit card company gives you a limit. This is the maximum amount that they're willing to let you borrow until you pay it back. And each time you pay for something with a credit card, you are borrowing that amount of money and you must pay it back. Using a credit card isn't free. When you buy something with a credit card, the credit card company charges you a fee for lending you that money. And this is called interest. Interest is charged as a percentage of the balance you owe. If you don't pay your credit card bill in full each month, you have to pay back what you spent on the card plus the interest until your balance is paid in full. Credit card interest is generally in the range of 15 to 30%, or even more, of whatever is owing on your credit card. So, it is easy to get into a cycle of debt if you keep buying things on your credit card when you don't have a plan to pay it back. There are some pluses and minuses to credit cards. As a plus, a credit card can be used as identification and to make orders over the phone and over the internet. They are also typically required when you want to rent a hotel room or a car. And credit cards also have some pretty big minuses to consider. Interest fees is the main one. You need to factor the interest cost into your spending habits when it comes to credit card use. Credit card companies may also charge an annual service fee, especially if the card has a rewards feature. Always take the time to read the contract carefully before signing up for a credit card. This is a legally binding agreement, which means you're responsible for what you agree to by using the card, whether you've read it or not. The agreement includes important information about how the interest is calculated, what the interest rate is for regular purchases and for cash advances, any payment terms, what happens if you are late with your payments, and any other rights and responsibilities. Credit cards also have security risks if they are lost or stolen, and they have a PIN number or personal identification number that you need to keep safe. Remember to always report a lost or a stolen credit card right away so that the account can be suspended to help avoid fraudulent use, and always monitor your credit card statements to make sure you're aware of any suspicious activity. Another big minus is how easy you can get into debt if you overspend with a credit card. It's really tempting to buy something you want if you have the room on your credit card, but if you don't have a plan to pay it back, you will end up owing way more on your credit card than perhaps you can afford. It can take many, many years to pay off your credit card balance. And any missed payments or high balances on your card will impact your credit report, which can impact important future plans, such as car or house purchases. And I will talk a bit more about this later on. So when we talk about having a plan to pay back your debt, what do we really mean? Well, for example, if you use your credit card to buy something before you can pay for it yourself, it can be really hard to pay it back, especially if other expenses come up and you need to keep borrowing more and more to cover them. When you spend more money than you make, your cost of debt may grow so much that you may even need to borrow more to pay back the existing loans. And this is called a cycle of debt. Debt can be hard to pay back, especially if it gets out of control. Because even though you have this loan to pay back, you still have your other regular bills and expenses that have to be taken care of. So that's why it can be hard to get out of debt, and you still have to spend money on your regular life. But on top of that, you have this big loan to pay back. It can take a long time because you may only have a little bit of money left over to put towards your debt after your bills and your needs are paid for. Before you spend on a credit card, you need to look at your income and make sure you can afford to add another bill, like debt payback. If you can't afford to pay back your credit card bill, then you're better off saving up to buy the item that you want. Having a budget can help you balance your debts, expenses, and savings. And our website has some great resources and tools to help you start. Check it out at fcnb.ca. Now, let's take a closer look at how credit cards really work. Let's imagine you're at Frosh Week, your first year of university. There are typically several credit card companies all hoping to get you to sign up for a free credit card. But remember, the card itself may be free, but as soon as you start using it, you need to be thinking about how you will pay it back. And remember, not all credit cards are free. Some come with an annual fee in addition to interest fees. So our example shows Jennifer, Megan, and Mark. They all signed up for their very first credit card at an interest rate of 19.99%. Remember earlier when I said that credit card interest can range from 15 to 30% or more? Keep in mind that you may be looking at an even higher rate for your first card. So they all decide to buy a TV for $650 with their cards. Let's see how each of them approaches the purchase. So Jennifer buys her TV and then pays her card off in full right away. Why do you think she would bother doing that if she already had the funds to buy it up front? There's a great reason why she might do this. She wants to build her credit history. And you build your credit history through your credit report. A credit report is created when you borrow money or apply for credit for the first time. Lenders send information about your accounts to the credit bureaus, also known as credit reporting agencies. There are two main credit bureaus in Canada, Equifax and TransUnion. Financial institutions look at your credit report to decide if they will lend you money, how much, and at what interest rate. If you have no credit history or a poor credit history, it could be harder for you to get a credit card, loan, or mortgage. It could even affect your ability to rent a house or apartment or get hired for a job. If you have a good credit history, you may be able to get a lower interest rate on loans. This can save you a lot of money over time. So Jennifer is building a good credit history by making purchases and then paying them in full. So there's a record of her good payment habits. And another bonus of paying your balance in full is that you don't have to pay any interest on the amount that you borrowed. Typically, credit card companies give you a grace period of about 21 days. If you pay your balance in full during that time, you aren't charged any interest. Next, let's take a closer look at Megan. She bought her TV and decided to budget a payment of $50 a month to pay on her credit card. She figured out that it will take her 1 year and 3 months to pay off her card, and she'll pay about $90 in interest by the time she pays off her credit card. So overall, this does seem like a solid plan. Megan wanted to make the purchase, she made a plan to pay it back, and she accepted that the interest she had to pay was worth it in order to have the TV right away. Where do you think that Megan may run into trouble? What if she buys anything else on her card over the next year and 3 months? Will her $50 a month payment cover the additional costs and interest? This is where a cycle of debt can happen before you even realize it. Imagine that she decides to go out to dinner with her friends and then buys a new outfit and maybe things for her dorm room, all on her credit card. All of a sudden, she now owes $1,000 on her card and she only budgeted for $50 a month as her payment. Depending on the interest and credit limit you have, you can quickly get into a situation where you aren't even paying the interest owing on your card and you never pay down the principal that you borrowed. This is how a cycle of debt begins. Lastly, let's look at Mark. He also has a plan. He made a budget to pay the minimum monthly payment per month on his card. Usually, this works out to 3% of the balance owing, or $10, whichever is greater. So you might be asking yourself, I don't see a problem here. He made a plan and he budgeted for his purchase. But if you look at the interest he will pay, we see that it will take him 8 years to pay off his purchase, and he will pay over $500 in interest for a TV that only cost $650 to begin with. And we haven't even considered if he makes any additional purchases during this time either. We can see by this example that Mark not only will pay way more for his TV than it's worth, he will likely not have the TV for that long. It could break, or he might get tired of it, but he will still be on the hook for the payments. This is why it's important to be smart about using credit cards. They aren't evil, but if you're not careful, you can get into financial trouble. And it can even feel like you're not spending real money because we don't use physical money. So when we punch a number into the computer or tap our card, no actual physical money is exchanged. So it can feel like we aren't really spending at all. That's why it's really important to make sure you keep track of your spending and that you know how much you're charging on your card and how much you can really afford to spend. Hopefully, I've helped you understand how credit cards work and gave you some things to think about before you go on a spending spree. Remember to use credit wisely and always have a realistic plan to pay back what you've borrowed. Visit our website at fcnb.ca for more tools and resources that can help you with your budgeting and savings goals.